Hey everyone, welcome back to the DearTober podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Cass. This is Tober, and he is with friends today.
Yes!
He's got a little Stitch and a little Pooh Bear to match our outfits. These are our favorite characters.
Yes.
So he's got friends today. He doesn't have a favorite.
Yeah, so this wasn't really planned that we were going to do this.
No.
We just thought that it would look cute if we dressed up as our favorite characters.
We have matching Oodies.
Yeah, so I was just like, hey Cass, wear your Oodie.
Yeah. And then I was like, hold up. I have these tiny little stuffy things. They have a name. These types of stuffies. Silas has like all the Mickey Mouse characters too.
Does he?
Yeah. Like in those little, whatever they're called. Anyway, I remembered I had a Stitch and a Pooh Bear, so I brought them along. We have a mascot too.
You couldn't hear it in your earphones, but he just sniffed the microphone and all you hear is like...
Delicious. I love that, Aro. Thank you.
Anyways, we are going to go in and talk about some Reddit stories today.
Yes. So our first Reddit Stories episode, we talked about stories surrounding the topics we had been discussing recently. So today we're going to read stories about the newer topics we've been discussing, which would be missed miscarriage and early miscarriage, as well as another stillbirth story. I also have statistics.
Do you want to get into those now?
Yes.
Or
We've touched on the statistics before. So I'm just going to read straight up what I found on the internet. I didn't put it in my own words. Ain't
did
nobody
we
got time for
fact
that.
check at all?
What?
Did we fact check at all?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. So it's legit. I'm just not putting it in my own words. Okay. It says, in Canada, approximately 15 to 25% of all recognized pregnancies end in miscarriage, while specific comprehensive national data on missed miscarriages is less frequently reported than overall miscarriage rates. Studies suggest they represent a significant portion of early pregnancy losses. So I'm thinking they don't have much data on missed miscarriages because how can you report it if you don't even know that you've missed your miscarriage? Like a lot of people might not even know that they're pregnant when they have their missed miscarriage. And so then how do they know they're even having a miscarriage if they don't know they're pregnant?
I mean, they probably don't realize it because they probably just think that it's their period.
Yeah, because they don't know they're pregnant. Could just be a heavier period. But a lot of the time, people don't have symptoms when they have a miscarriage, a missed miscarriage. And that's why they don't realize they're miscarrying, because they don't have symptoms. So it would make sense why we're lacking in data in that case.
We could also just contribute it to it being women's health, though.
Yeah.
Because women's health in general, there's not a lot of documentation or...
Exactly.
We've touched on it before, but...
Yeah.
Cars.
It does say roughly 1 in 5 pregnancies in Canada end in miscarriage, so the ones that are reported. And then under the missed miscarriage frequency, it says some studies suggest that missed miscarriages account for notable portion of early losses, particularly as they are increasingly identified via routine first trimester ultrasounds. And that most missed miscarriages occur in the first trimester, frequently discovered during routine scans between 11 and 14 weeks. That's like right at the end then. That's kind of going into the second trimester though.
Yeah.
Up to 14 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, because I think your second trimester starts at 12.
I believe so. Because that's when they say the first 3 months are done and you're like out of the danger zone.
But as we've learned, you're never really safe.
Yeah.
And I find it wild that they say 1 in 5 because in our group, as we've spoken about, there Nora was a 1 in 3.
Yeah.
So it's either that our friend group is really unlucky, or the statistics once again are kind of off because lack of data.
I've had a miscarriage and Tiff's had 2. I don't think Kaylee's had any miscarriages.
No.
So, but that right there is already like 3 between 2 of us.
My sister-in-law's had.
So, yeah, see? I feel like a lot of the women I know, like our age, have had miscarriages as well. So, yeah, it's common. But I also think that other pregnancy losses are common too. They're just not talked about as much as miscarriage. So, and even at that, I think miscarriage we talk about more often in recent years than we ever have. So
that's kind of why we're here, right? Is to kind of get rid of the stigma and to have these conversations because they're not being had.
Exactly. Someone's got to do it. It's gonna be us.
Of course it's gonna be us. Cheers to that.
Says proportion of losses in a British Columbia study, 62% of participants who experienced miscarriage reported that their loss was a missed miscarriage. Damn.
So those are way more common than people are thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Early pregnancy loss affects 15 to 20% of all clinically recognized pregnancies in Canada. The risk of miscarriage increases with age, estimated at 1 in 3 for pregnancies in individuals aged 40 or older. So, I mean, yeah. Kind of already knew the older you get, the
harder it is. We kind of touched on that also our last episode. Well, it wouldn't be our last episode. It would be a few episodes ago.
At some point, we talked about it.
At some point, we had kind of touched on it. It was our last Reddit story episode.
This one's crazy. In Quebec, more than 20,000 pregnant persons experience a miscarriage annually. That's a lot.
We're not even the most populated province.
No. Damn, okay. Anyway, that's my statistics. Which brings us into our first story. It's a short one, and it's about missed miscarriage. So I guess we'll start there.
Just a second.
It says, I had 2 early ones back to back. No sign anything was wrong until I went in for my 8-week ultrasound for the first one. And it was the size where a heartbeat should have been found, but there wasn't one. Development stopped around 6.5 weeks. For my second one, I went in at what they thought was my 9-week mark, but measured at 1.7, but there was a heartbeat, so they scheduled me for another at the true 9-week mark. Again, no sign, nothing was wrong beforehand, but there was no heartbeat again. Development had stopped just a few days prior. My doctor did a D&C procedure for both, where I was completely put under. They did them within 2 days of the confirmed loss, so I never bled. Looking back, I was glad I went that route because I had a natural miscarriage between 5 to 6 weeks. And the cramping and bleeding were really uncomfortable. And if I'd have had that happen the first time around, I'd have been more messed up emotionally experiencing it.
I don't think people realize how painful a miscarriage really is.
I've had miscarriages, passing pregnancies on both ends. Extremely painful, lots of symptoms, heavy bleeding, and also not a whole lot going on.
No. I have PCOS and endometriosis, and so my periods are naturally pretty heavy.
Yeah, and painful.
My doctor actually has prescribed pain medication, muscle relaxers, like whole 9 yards to help me get through my periods because they're so bad. But I also don't get my periods regularly or naturally. And so I get what we call progesterone periods, which are even more painful on top of that because you're forcing it with like pumping hormones into your body.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this to say is that like my periods are pretty bad, and I would choose a period over a miscarriage.
Oh, yeah.
Because the pain of having a miscarriage, it's like
a lot.
And that's just the physical pain. Like, we're not even talking about the
I
emotional
was
and
just
mental.
going to say, I mean, at least with a period, you're not experiencing really an emotional, like, loss. Obviously, you're probably emotional about it.
Yeah.
But you're not experiencing loss on top of all of that. So, I mean, yeah. I wouldn't choose to have a miscarriage, that's for sure. But I think that I've been lucky in the sense that not all of the ones I've had have been painful. I think with the ectopic pregnancy, it was mild, honestly. It wasn't heavy bleeding. It was like having a period, and that's why we weren't even sure to begin with if I was passing the pregnancy or what was going on. As for pain, there wasn't much. I mean, there was some cramping and whatnot when I took the medication, but even then it felt like a normal period. So I was expecting a lot worse considering my previous experience. But not everyone experiences it the same either, right? Whether it's induced or not, whether it's missed or not. So I think in that sense, I'm happy for the poster that she didn't have to go through all that and that she was put under for the procedure, because that alone can be a very like traumatizing experience.
And it's not every hospital that will put you under.
No. When I was possibly going into surgery for my ectopic pregnancy, they told me I would be given anesthesia, but I wouldn't be completely under. So I'd still be awake. So yeah, based on your hospital. But
Maybe not even the hospital. Maybe it's the doctor.
Province, the doctor.
There's probably so many factors that go into something like that.
Yeah. I guess you would also have to have the right team in place, right? For mine, the hospital that I had been seeing the specialist said they wouldn't be doing the procedure at that hospital. I'd have to go to a different one so that they would have the right team and be able to have the anesthesiologist there. So,
and that's wild because the hospital that you normally go to is a major hospital in the Ottawa area.
The one so that's the hospital I would have had the procedure at. But
okay.
Where I was seeing the specialist was different, a different place. So I don't think they even have a birthing center, actually, at the hospital I was seeing the specialist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's just where his clinic is based out of.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this next one is another missed miscarriage, because I don't think we've talked about it at all, actually, until we had an episode with Tiff, and she brought it up. This one's a bit longer, though, so bear with us. All right. It says, just needed a place to empty my heart out. It's going to be a long post. Just can't keep it to myself and wanted to share. Last month, on this day, the 7th of March, we found out that we were expecting our first child. We were not actively trying, but not even preventing it. I started taking my prenatal, started eating healthy, trying to be as cautious as I can, and taking care of myself. My first ultrasound was supposed to be done between 7 and 8 weeks. I booked an appointment at 7 weeks, 5 days. I was very excited, saw my baby for the first time, and saw its little heart flickering on the screen. We were over the moon and broke the news to both sides of the family. Everyone around us was happy, but this happiness didn't last too long. The next day, I received a call from my doctor that she wants to see me. We went in just to hear the bad news of our lives, that baby is measuring a week behind. 6 weeks, 6 days, and with a large yolk sac, and with heart rate of just 107. This was the day they also found out that I have a cyst in my right ovary. Doctor told us to be prepared mentally for the worst outcome. Recommended a follow-up ultrasound a week later, and we went home with a heavy heart. After a day or two, I just had a feeling that something is not right and started feeling empty from inside. I used to talk to my baby every day and felt that it's not there anymore. This was a crazy week. I went through internet and found some positive and some negative stories. My second ultrasound, I was supposed to be 8 weeks, 5 days, but thought that I might be ovulating late or conceived late. But 1 week difference was already killing me from inside. I wanted to know the results soon, but it was weekend, so hoping to have answers on Monday. Today, our family doctor is off. It's Sunday. On Saturday evening, I had a brown spotting one time, but thought it was normal and tried to relax. We went to church on Sunday, and in the middle of the service, I felt a gush of blood come out of me. I rushed to the bathroom to see a bright red blood, enough to stain through my pants. I immediately thought, I'm going to have a miscarriage soon. Rushed to the hospital to see another doctor and found out that our baby couldn't survive right after our last ultrasound. It was still measuring 6 weeks, 6 days with no heartbeat. I lost all of my pregnancy symptoms and likely to miscarry my first child soon. I haven't started bleeding heavily yet. We are heartbroken to find this out and having a hard time just before the Easter holidays. I don't know how to recover from this pain. I think that was wild. I feel like that story and the first one were similar to my ectopic, where it was measuring behind. And at first there was still a heartbeat, so, they could have conceived or ovulated at a different time than they thought. And so they still thought everything might be okay. And then the next time they went back, there was no heartbeat. So.
But I think it goes to say something about a mother's intuition, though.
Yeah, because I knew, or felt like I knew, right from the beginning of the ectopic pregnancy. There was something off. This is not going to be viable. And then I was right. I just didn't know to what extent.
When I had miscarried, I remember I had texted Haley.
Mm-hmm.
I had turned over in bed, and because me and Haley were going through our pregnancies together, we would text each other every single little thing, like, hey, I vomited this morning. But I had texted her one night and I said, I don't feel I feel like there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel normal. And she had told me, you're probably just stressed. You're probably just overthinking it. She wasn't trying to dismiss my feelings. I think she was just trying to calm me down.
Minimize the stress.
Yeah. And it was a few days after that I had started kind of
spotting.
Yeah. But in my situation, I had said, there was a possibility of so many things that could do it, and it doesn't matter. You can always blame something for a miscarriage. You can do everything right or everything wrong,
and then say it's that one time I didn't do this.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But let's be completely honest and completely transparent. Drug addicts still have babies,
and they're fine a lot of the time. They don't even have what's that fetal alcohol syndrome, and the babies come out addicted to whatever the mother was on. A lot of the time there's not even that.
No.
So,
but that's just it. It's that, a drug addict can still have a healthy baby, and somebody who works out every day and does everything right and has never smoked a cigarette in her life can be completely infertile. So life is completely unpredictable, but there's something to say about a mother's intuition.
Oh, yeah. I guess I felt it with Tober too, right? For a while there, I was thinking something was going to go wrong. I just thought it was going to be me instead of him, but yeah.
It was still your gut talking to you.
Yeah, telling me. I remember actually talking to Silas's dad about it and being like, if something happens to me, this is what you need to know. This is what you need to do. And he was like, it's fine. You're going to be fine. Don't talk like that. Everything's going to be great. It's going to go well. And then.
Do you think if you were having that conversation with him now that he would still be like, you're going to be fine?
Probably not. He wasn't rude about it. He definitely was trying to calm me down. I remember him being like, it's you're fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it. But I do wonder a lot of the time what his thought process was when I called him after. being like...
He probably was like...
He was probably... I don't even know if he remembers the conversation we had where I was telling him, I feel like something's going to go wrong. I don't know if he even remembers that. But if he had, like, I wonder what that thought process was. Like, shit, like, I told her it was going to be fine. She was going to be fine, and she is fine, but, like, Tober didn't make it. And now I'm getting this phone call, like, a month later of her telling me and asking me to come to the hospital.
You know, sometimes I wonder if... I don't want to say it's karma, but, you know, like the negative thoughts that people have about certain situations and stuff, if, like, they don't feel like if after something happens that they're like, crap, I jinxed it. And then they feel eternally bad for the rest of their lives because they said something that they probably shouldn't have said, and then that something, like, manifested into reality.
I mean... I know there was somebody who said when they found out I was pregnant, not in a very nice way, that they weren't surprised. I don't know if they even remember that comment now, considering that was like, when they made that comment, it was like 2 years ago now. But yeah, makes me wonder, like, all these people who had those shitty thoughts in the beginning, if they feel bad about it now.
I mean, I won't even lie about it. When you had told me that you were pregnant, I wasn't happy about it.
Girl, I wasn't happy about it. It was not planned, and it was not an ideal situation.
I was not happy that you weren't the one that told me about it. I wasn't happy that you were pregnant again and that you were in the situation that you were in because you were living with your mom.
But that's not you really necessarily having bad thoughts about, like, the baby or anything.
No.
Because I've had someone tell me that they hoped nothing but bad things would happen to me.
We're going to get into that into a
whole episode, to a whole 2 episodes about this.
Whole 2 episodes
it's
are
coming.
planned about this.
But yeah, they had said, I hope nothing but bad things happen to you for the rest of your life. And then even after Tober passed away, they said to me, and I have proof, I have receipts still, that they hoped that I would never be able to carry another baby, and that I would be, like, infertile, or they said barren, for the rest of my life. And they must have spoken that into existence, because not even a year later I was experiencing the ectopic pregnancy. So you are probably onto something there. But I very much believe in, like, like manifestation and speaking things into existence and the universe doing its thing. So, yeah.
It's just all this coming from a mom's intuition.
Literally, this is what happens every episode. But this is also how we've come up with some of our topics, things to talk about.
Yeah. It's also how a lot of conversations in our everyday life go.
Honestly, yeah. Like, when we're together in person, especially when we have all the girls together, things get out of hand.
Yeah, we could start talking about football, and then all of a sudden we're talking about, like,
the meaning of life.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't think we really needed Caleb to get you hyped up on Pepsi, to be honest. This idea probably would have happened eventually anyway, with the way we...
It was a matter of time.
Yeah. Caleb's just the one who...
kickstarted it.
Yeah. Okay. That being said, the next story. It's titled 5 weeks plus 3 days natural miscarriage experience. Some graphic details in post, they say. So, brace yourselves. All right. I just wanted to take a minute to write out my experience, because when I was preparing for this miscarriage, I read a lot of others' experiences, and it helped me to process what might be coming. Each experience is so unique and different when it comes to bleeding and pain, and how long the miscarriage can take. I wanted to share my own personal story that I feel blessed. This is not to take away from other people's stories who experience significant pain, because all bodies process things differently. I went in for an ultrasound at 8 weeks, and they told me my baby was measuring 5 weeks, 3 days. I went back and read my medical notes, and I had just an empty gestational sac, no yolk sac. In order to confirm my dates weren't just off, I was put through 2 rounds of HGC tests over a week. My levels kept doubling, and it was looking like a missed miscarriage. They told me to come back for another ultrasound a week later. Okay, pause on that. This is a early miscarriage turned missed miscarriage, it sounds like. Whereas the miscarriage story I had read earlier ended up sounding like not a missed miscarriage, but a regular miscarriage.
I was kind of thinking that, but then I was also like,
let the story unfold. So yeah, it's almost like it's swapped. Like they don't even realize what it is. Anyway.
But I guess when you're miscarrying that early in a pregnancy, like, what is it that defines I don't know, because even this, I don't think it's necessarily what we would classify as a missed miscarriage.
No.
Because to me, a missed miscarriage is like
you're miscarried already,
but you didn't know that you had a miscarriage.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Or is it our definition that's a little off?
Guess we can always look it up after. I was also going to say my ectopic pregnancy was kind of everything wrapped up into one, because I ended up miscarrying and not realizing it because my symptoms were so chill, and I had been trying to miscarry for so long by taking medication and stuff, that when it did happen, I didn't realize it was happening. So like,
does that classify as a missed miscarriage? Right? Or does it still classify as an abortion?
Right. That's what I don't get. Because like the medication that I took at home to have like an at-home abortion didn't work. And then I ended up miscarrying like almost 2 months later. So at that point, it's not an abortion anymore. The medication's completely gone from your system within days, right? So that whole situation was just...
It was a wild ride.
Between like it just not being a viable pregnancy to it being actually ectopic to a medical abortion to a failed medical abortion to a missed miscarriage, possibly just miscarriage. I don't even know.
It's a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Let's just call it a clusterfuck, because that's what that was.
You know what? Our lives are clusterfucks, so.
It's chaos.
Clusterfuck.
All right.
Okay, let's get back.
I will continue. Okay. During that week, I started bleeding. It went from dark brown to dark reddish brown to bright red with small amounts of tissue. I had 2 nights from 8 p.m. to 11-ish p.m. with minor cramps and heavier bleeding. But with Advil and a heating pad, I felt almost no pain. On the second night of heavier bleeding, I woke up at 3 a.m., went to pee, and felt a huge dump of blood and stuff fall out, but it didn't hurt. It was just gross. I changed my pad and went back to sleep. Turns out that was the sac. I went back for my ultrasound today, and I was elated to find out that I had passed the gestational sac. The worst is over. I have some leftover tissue and blood to pass, but as long as my levels continue to drop, the worst is over, and I will not need to take a pill or go through a D&C. I really, really freaked myself out, thinking I was going to have buckets of blood pouring out of me and cramps that took my breath away, but this miscarriage has felt more like a heavy period. I believe it is because my body terminated the pregnancy so early at 5 weeks. I just wanted to give hope to people in my similar circumstance that you will get through this even though it sucks. Okay.
I was going to say maybe her symptoms were so light because it was so early on in her pregnancy.
I was going to say that too, because when I had an abortion / miscarriage, I don't know if you remember, but I'd taken the first set of pills.
The day after we went to the NF concert.
Yeah, and that wasn't supposed to kickstart the bleeding yet. That's not supposed to happen until you take the second set. Dose. So they thought that I ended up having like a spontaneous miscarriage. So I don't even know what to call that one either. But that one I was a little further along than my ectopic pregnancy. And that one, even though it was just weeks difference, was a lot more painful.
Well, I remember we were outside at my house, and we were just, I guess, talking outside.
Yeah, I think I was sitting outside on the front steps.
You were sitting on my front steps, and you were like super stressed that day because obviously everything that was going on.
That's another episode.
There's a whole side story to this. But we were on my porch just talking, and so she had started bleeding, and it was like really, really heavy. And you were like, oh, great. Like, here we go.
It had been like that all day, though, and it continued after I left here. It was like that for a couple days. Honestly, the amount of bleeding, I probably should have gone to the hospital, but I had so many other things going on that I just didn't. But yeah, the bleeding was insane. Like, there was a point where I was just sitting on the toilet because I'm like, I'm going to be up in 5 minutes to change my pad anyway. But I also had severe cramping. I was throwing up. I was all the things. And like I said, that was only a few weeks difference from the ectopic pregnancy, and a very, very different pain levels and heaviness for the bleeding and everything. So
yeah,
but it's also like the OP said in the beginning of her story, that everyone's different, and every pregnancy is different, every miscarriage is different, every experience is different. So wild.
Yeah.
But again, her story was similar to the measuring behind what it should have been, and then realizing there was no heartbeat.
Maybe that's kind of the trend of like why it's a miscarriage.
Yeah. Because maybe you're thinking it's still a viable pregnancy because they're still detecting a heartbeat, but because it's measuring behind, it's already, a miscarriage has already started. Maybe that's how they start. It stops growing even though it has a heartbeat, and then the next thing to go is the heartbeat. I can look it up right now, I swear.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
Because maybe our perception of it is just not scientifically
accurate.
Yeah. All right. Definition of definition of missed miscarriage. A missed miscarriage, or silent miscarriage, happens when a fetus stops developing, but the body doesn't recognize the loss, meaning there's no bleeding or cramping, and pregnancy symptoms might continue as hormones remain high.
So we were just totally off base.
Yeah. So again, like I said, there's still a heartbeat, but the growth has stopped. So it's the growth that stops first, I guess. It's like stunted progression. Damn.
It's wild to me that I didn't know this, though, because I worked in the medical field.
I mean, yeah,
for years, but it wasn't my specialty. Like, I was never labor and delivery or anything like that. My thing was special needs. So, like, I specialized with autism, Down syndrome.
Yeah. Also, if you've never experienced one yourself, you're less likely to spontaneously look up the definition.
Yeah.
You kind of just go with your interpretation, right? But I mean, based on our conversation a couple minutes ago, we were saying how, yeah, it's probably the growth that stops first. So I guess we were on something there.
It was the right path, just
completely off what we originally thought.
Yeah, because I genuinely thought that it was when you just didn't realize.
Yeah.
Because your period came and it was like so quick that.
But I guess that is still along the lines of not realizing, because just because it's measuring behind doesn't mean the pregnancy is not viable. When I went in for the ectopic, they told me I could wait another month and see what happens, because it didn't necessarily mean I was miscarrying or going to miscarry. It's just because it was measuring behind, it wasn't at a point where they could see a whole lot on the ultrasound. And so they weren't able to give me enough information to tell me that, yes, this is 100% not a viable pregnancy. So again, yeah, every person's different. Every pregnancy is different. But I guess based on definition, we were wrong.
Miscarriage is a lot more, it's a lot more vast than I thought it was.
Yeah. I think this is something what we read earlier. It just says it's often discovered during routine checkups when an ultrasound shows no fetal heartbeat or growth, revealing the shock that the pregnancy ended weeks earlier.
Okay. But then I have another question. Because in my case, like with my PCOS and stuff, I don't ovulate the way that I'm supposed to ovulate.
Yeah.
And so it can come, I'll think that like I ovulated, let's say like January 15th, and in reality I ovulated February 5th. So it can sometimes be like 3 weeks off. It could be like a full month off. So if you're not actually tracking your cycle properly because your cycle is fluctuating from 28 days to 90 days, how are you supposed to know if you're behind?
That's a good question.
Because, yeah, I've always kind of wondered that, because when I got pregnant with Amara, I found out after I was about to start my second round of fertility treatments, but I was like 13 weeks along already.
Yeah.
But then we didn't really know how far along I really was when we had tested, because obviously.
Yeah. But wait, then when you go into the doctor's office and get your first ultrasound and they date it, how are you supposed to know if that's
So for
accurate?
Amara, they dated her based on her size.
Okay.
And then they told me to come back in 2 weeks later.
To see if she was progressing based off the first ultrasound.
I guess.
Okay. Well, I mean, that would make sense. But again, like, how do you know if, unless you're like very spot on with tracking and whatever, then how would you know if that's even accurate? Like, if that would be behind, what if you were supposed to be like 16 weeks, right?
Exactly. And that's why I think it gets kind of confusing for somebody who has the fertility issues. Like, how are you supposed to keep track of that?
Literally, though, because you fluctuate so often already. It's like, well, what if I'm actually like...
I think the shortest cycle I've ever had was like 14 days.
Okay.
And then I think the longest cycle I've ever had was like 200 and something days.
Ma'am.
I know. The face you just gave me.
We need to talk about your lack of giving a fuck.
Well, it's not even my lack of giving a fuck.
Just waiting?
No. It's that at the time, the doctor that I had just had no interest in helping me with my period or anything like that. And so he refused to give me progesterone. He refused to sending me for testing. He refused all of it. So... it was only once I got to a female doctor that she listened. And now, even now that I don't want any more kids and I don't want to get pregnant or anything like that, she still says, take the progesterone. Not because you are eventually going to try and get pregnant or have another baby, but not having your period puts you at an increased risk for certain cancers.
Well, yeah, like it's just dangerous in general. So, damn.
So yes, but that was my longest cycle. And now I think the longest I normally let my cycle go is 3 months.
I mean, yeah, now that you have a good doctor and you're aware of all these things, you're less likely to just be like,
Now I go see my doctor and I say, yeah, I don't have any more progesterone on my file. She just rewrites me a prescription, says, okay, like she knows I know what I'm doing at this point.
Yeah.
I've been doing this now for
many years.
7 years.
Yeah.
So
7 years too long.
Just take it out. Just take it all out.
Honestly.
When I had my period last week, that's what I was asking Cam. I'm like, why won't they just take it all out? Why can't they?
It honestly should just come down to you signing a consent form being like, let's do this. But that is just not the way it works.
It is not.
Unfortunately.
It is not. At one point when I had a male doctor after V, because before V I didn't really want kids to begin with. And so.
And here we are.
Here we are 2 kids later.
3.
2.5.
I was going to say that next.
Men, manly men. Ooh. Okay. Sorry.
The tisms are kicking in.
Where was I going with this?
You had a male doctor after V.
Yeah. So I had said, like, because I was having the painful periods and I wanted it all taken out, and he had said, well, we would need your partner's consent for that. I was like, are you
what partner?
shitting me?
At
What
that
partner?
point, like...
What partner?
Exactly, though. So then what?
I was told I was too young. There was nothing wrong with me, so I didn't need to have anything removed.
I made this face a lot this episode.
I know.
I'm like, excuse me.
I think the idea of men trying to control women's reproductive rights just, like...
Oh, yeah.
Send me into a tizzy.
The faces that I make.
But yeah, it's yeah. And I've talked to Cam about it too, and Cam's literally told me, like, where do I sign? Just like, it's not his decision.
It's not. Actually, okay. I got into a conversation with my partner the other day. I had come across this TikTok, and I feel like it's such a taboo topic. So I'm not going to get crazy into it. But this girl got unexpectedly pregnant and told her boyfriend, and he didn't want to be involved. And so it was a whole lot of back and forth in the comments of, he's an asshole. Well, wait, he's not an asshole because he still has a right to not want to be involved. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. Where was I going with this?
We were talking about, like, it's a woman's right to decide what to do with her reproductive
I think,
system.
yeah, very much it is a woman's right to do what she wants with her own body. But when it comes down to keeping a baby or not, I mean, at least from my perspective, I think the male should have at least an opinion. And if he wants, if it's an unexpected pregnancy, like, is he ready for that? Because just because we want to keep it and we're ready to raise a baby doesn't mean he necessarily is. But I'm very much on both sides because it takes 2 to create a baby. So, like, you can't just be like, I'm not ready, peace. But at the same time, you're allowed to have those opinions and those feelings.
I mean, since we're on the topic, how about we buckle up and just talk about Vienna's story?
Well, yeah. See, like, I'm very much, like, I haven't necessarily been in that position. I have to think about that for a minute. I haven't necessarily been in that position. So I think it's different once you are. Just like my opinions on abortion when I was 15 are very different than they are now as a 29-year-old having had an abortion. But as much as it takes 2 to tango, I also feel like, yeah, if you get pregnant and you decide you want to keep it, I still think the man does at least deserve an opinion on the situation.
So in my situation with Vienna, I was young. He was 5 years older than I was.
So roles very much could have been reversed where you could have said, no, I'm not ready for this. I don't want to keep it. And him have been like, but I'm ready. I want this, which I also think is valid too. Like, it's, in any case, I think your thoughts and opinions should still be valid. Sorry. It's okay.
Yeah, it easily could have been switched backwards, but in our situation, he didn't want to have kids. I was under the impression that I wasn't going to be able to have kids because had not been on birth control for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say long, long time, I'm saying like 3 years, 2 years prior to even being with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was aware that I wasn't on the pill. There was never any hiding it or any secrets or any of that. I had always had the symptoms of PCOS, but I hadn't been diagnosed at that point. But all this to say, there was never any protection. There was never anything like that. And so when I got pregnant, it was kind of a surprise.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for both of you, because you really were under the impression it just wasn't going to happen anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And it was a very tumultuous relationship. I don't know if that's how you say that word, but there was a lot of chaos in that relationship. It was not necessarily healthy. And so when he did find out that I was pregnant, it was like he wanted nothing to do with it. It was done.
Yeah.
There was no us moving forward. And so it was made very clear that if I continued on with the pregnancy, that he was not going to be involved whatsoever. So I did have Vienna. She is 14 now. All this to say is that because I made that decision myself, that yes, I am keeping her, and it was made clear, I did respect his boundary of I never went after him for child support, so he's never paid a penny for her.
Yeah.
We had tried to get in contact with him when Vienna was 12, but that was not me trying to get into contact with him. That was her request.
Yeah.
That was something that she wanted.
Which is also her right. Like, whether he wanted to be there when she was in utero or not, it's still her right as a 12-year-old girl wanting to be connected with her biological dad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this to say, I don't think I stand directly on one side. And it's very much based on the situation, I guess, too. Like, everyone is so different, every situation, just like every pregnancy and every loss. So, like, I hate to be that one, like, siding with a man. But I can see that from both sides. So,
yeah.
I mean, it just sucks all around, to be honest.
It does, like, in a lot of ways. And I think as a 35-year-old woman, I can kind of look back at it, too, and say, yeah, when I made that decision, maybe it was a little bit selfish of me to make that decision and go through with it by myself. But at the same time, if you were to ask me if I had any regrets on keeping Vienna or any of it, like, absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I want kids before I had her? Not necessarily. But, you know, sometimes the best things that happen to you in life are the things that are unplanned.
Yeah.
And sometimes the things that you want the most are the things that you thought you never wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way about Tober, even though, like, it's been a lot of grief and pain and all the negative emotions. I also don't think I would have, given the chance, gone back in time and decided not to keep him. So I probably would have still done it all over again.
Yeah.
Granted, there's certain parts of the whole situation I would absolutely do differently. But keeping him and going through all of it, I wouldn't have changed it. So.
And, you know, they say, like, there's that country song, and I've said it before, it's like some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in your situation with Tober, it was like you did want him. Mm-hmm. There was so much love that was spent getting everything ready for him. But considering the situation that you were going to be in with his dad, whatever we want to call him at this point, you know, unanswered prayers.
Yeah. I mean, I think we said it before that throughout Tober's pregnancy and then the time since, I've grown a lot for the better. So who says that would have still happened without him, right?
It wouldn't have.
It would have taken a lot more time. But see, like, that was just a positive to come out of his pregnancy. I also might not have gotten out of my mom's basement as quickly as I did. I mean, the plan had been to only be in her house for 2 years. When I moved out, I was a year and a half in. Who knows what might have happened had I not been pregnant. But the pregnancy itself, I think, did a lot of good in, I guess, getting my life back together.
It helped you grow up.
And grow up. I feel like my life's fallen apart since, but we're on the up again. So, but also to be expected when you go through such a big loss, things are going to fall apart. But yeah.
Unanswered prayers.
Yeah, exactly.
There's another saying that they say life happens when you are busy making plans.
Yeah. And everything does not go the way you plan it to.
Rarely does everything ever go to plan.
I can definitely tell you this is not where I thought I would be at almost 30. But here we are.
No.
So.
Even myself, I went through life very backwards. I had V, and then I went back to school. I did all that stuff.
Then you met a man.
Then I met a man, and then I got married, and then I had another baby.
I was going to say, the only time you ever did things in the traditional way was meeting Kim, getting married, and then having Amara. Otherwise.
But our relationship has been very unconventional.
Oh, yeah. It's just the, like, timeline, I guess.
Yeah.
But even then, he moved in quick. You guys got engaged quick. But you know what? Okay. People say that now. Like, oh, you got engaged so quick. We got married quick. But back in, like, the friggin' 40s, people met and got married and had a baby within, like, a year. Okay? So.
Yeah. I actually have it up on the wall.
Yeah.
But I can't see the engagement date. But yeah, we had started dating on September 14th, 2017.
It's my mom's birthday.
We were engaged 8 months later, and we were married on September 21st, 2019.
So
2 years.
Just 2 years.
2 years, 1 week we were married.
Yeah. So
and then
again,
we were meeting the fertility specialist.
Some people have longer engagements than that entire relationship right there. So, but like, it works for you guys. Just like how we were saying, every person's different. Every pregnancy, every loss, every relationship.
Every life.
Every life. So the thing is like, who are we to judge?
Shaggy Rubber Boot and his
20 kids and counting.
Okay, Nick Cannon.
With his Mormon wife. Like, everyone does things differently, and just because it's not how we would do it doesn't make it wrong.
Just because it's not conventional.
Yeah, doesn't make it wrong either. So that's why I feel like I don't, for a lot of debates and a lot of topics, I don't stand directly on one side, because I'm very much aware of how different every situation can be. There are certain topics I am on one side, but for a lot of things I'm not. I feel like I'm very neutral, I guess. I don't know.
I'm very opinionated.
Yeah, but that's also not a wrong way to be either. Like,
it's bringing me back to our conversation about that guy that was like coming into Montreal in concert.
I was like, you're entitled.
She's like, you're entitled. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Everyone's entitled to their own wrong opinion.
Well, that's it. Like I said, just because you don't like him doesn't mean like no one does.
No.
Or it doesn't make him necessarily a bad artist, right?
No.
I have a pretty, but you do too. I was going to say I have a pretty broad range for like, my music.
polyamorous.
Music taste. But so do you.
Yes.
I think mine just might incorporate more rap than yours. Like
100%.
But again, like, nothing wrong with either or.
But then is it more rap? Because I love myself some hardcore like rap.
I think it probably just depends on the genre of rap.
Because what you're talking about is country rap.
So when he first started out, he was doing more like rock rap. Then he stuck to just rap, and then he started incorporating country. Then he brought rap back into it. So if you look at all his different albums, they are all very different. And he has been around for 21 years now. People change a lot in 21 years, right?
Absolutely.
Look at Taylor Swift. I'm also a diehard Swiftie. But she's done all kinds of genres too. I wouldn't say any one of them was done bad.
No, I think her record sales would also say that none of them were really done bad.
So, but that's the thing. Like, you know what? Maybe he's bad at like country rap, but he's great at rock rap too. Like, that's
just it. I only listened to like, and when I say listened, I like
skimmed, right?
Skimmed, really.
I could send you my favorite album, which is a lot different than probably the couple songs you took a look at, and you might actually really like that album.
My luck, though, I would go to the concert and all he would play is his country rap.
Right? And the thing is he's going on tour with 2 other people too.
Who's he going on tour with?
I don't even remember their names because I don't listen to them. So whatever style they normally go with is probably the style he's going to stick with too, right? This isn't going to be like one of his stadium tours where he's playing a variety of his songs. So yeah, but also MGK. You came to his concert.
I did. I'm not an overly crazy MGK fan.
Yeah, but also he's gone straight rap. He's gone straight like emo punk. He's mixed things. Like, you might like one of those genres more than the other when he does it too, right? So,
oh, absolutely. There are some like better songs of his that I do like.
Yeah.
I think for the most part I went because it was a girls trip and
yeah.
it was going to be like
fun.
just fun. So I wanted to go have fun.
Yeah.
I didn't go because I necessarily am diehard. I love MGK.
Yeah.
But I was also really, really sick that night.
Yeah. But you didn't want to waste the ticket.
No.
I mean, it still was fun. It'll be, I think, a different experience when we see Bad Omens because that will be more so for the band and the music itself.
Oh my God.
So.
Bad Omens, Sleep Token.
Oh.
My ovaries are hurting just thinking about it. I was just
assume my innards. Oh, so off topic. But basically to say everything and everyone in every life is different. So we can't necessarily say had you had the chance to do something over or had one little thing been different, right? Who's to say?
Do we have any more stories?
I think we have one.
One. Okay. Well, we might want to finish this up.
One more story. This one is visiting stillbirth topic again. It's titled Stillborn Daughter at 38 and a half weeks after perfectly healthy pregnancy. She wrote, "My wife and I are reeling. We lost our daughter last Thursday after my wife stopped feeling her move and we went to the hospital for baby monitoring. They couldn't find a pulse, and after a few minutes, we heard the words that every parent fears. She was born early Friday morning, and we spent the entire day with her, holding her, getting photos, singing to her, and having molds made of her little hands and feet. My heart was shattered that day, and my wife and I will never be the same. We have cried and held each other for the last few days as we work through this together. Unfortunately, while mourning, we have had to make plans for her funeral and burial. Neither of us have any experience with loss like this, and we are overwhelmed by the planning and costs. I apologize if this isn't the place to ask, but could any of you provide general costs for things like the grave marker, charges associated with the burial, etc.?" I'll just skim through some of the cost stuff. We desire to have a very simple service and a nice but small grave marker. Any information that might be helpful is appreciated. I'm sorry to everyone here that has suffered such loss in their lives. I'm utterly devastated. Okay. The original reason I liked this post was because it was a man posting it for once, which is nice to see. A man trying to reach out for support. But also because a lot of posts do not bring up the fact that there's a funeral, a service, a memorial, whatever it is you decide. But we did talk about that in, I think, the first episode when we spoke about, or maybe the second episode, Tober's first year. But yeah, because a lot of people, you know, in your grieving, in your mourning, it's, especially when it's something unexpected, you're not really thinking about what comes next, right? What do you do from here? Because obviously there's still the body to deal with at that point. When you have a stillborn, it's not like a miscarriage where oftentimes you're flushing the toilet.
At the end of a stillbirth, most of the time you're ending up with a baby that's at least 2 to 10 pounds.
Yeah. Like already at a, you know, I'd say significant weight, I guess. It's not a clump of cells, even at 2 pounds. It still passes as a baby. And then, yeah, up to full grown. So you're not just disposing of it. You have to dispose of it like with a funeral or cremation, a burial and stuff.
You need to come up with a plan.
Yeah. And like I said, when it's not expected, you don't have plans organized or set in motion the way you would when you know someone's passing soon.
No, because let's not pretend like you go to the hospital when you're about to have a baby. You think that you're bringing your baby home. You're not going to the hospital pre-arranging a casket most of the time and saying, I'm going to the baby, might bring him home, might not.
And nurses and doctors too aren't going, hold on a sec. We just need to talk about this just in case. If this goes south, what are your plans? That's not a conversation. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But it's just not a conversation you have.
Could you imagine if it was?
That would put so much more stress on the pregnancy. Although I think I did mention that time we talked about it, that I think it, you know, to a certain extent, I think it's good to think about that or to like have some kind of idea, because I think we so often take pregnancy as like innocent, and once you get past that 12-week mark, everything's going to be fine.
But I think we're saying this from a point of trauma and a point of where we are, because I think a perfect example of this would be Haley. Haley is overstressed, overstimulated, over worrisome half the time.
Yeah.
So could you imagine if Haley's first pregnancy, if she would have gone to the hospital and the doctor would have been like, hey,
just by the way,
you might not get to bring this baby home.
It would be wild. I understand why we don't do that.
She would have a full-blown panic attack and miscarry just because.
But I think now, having very much been a part of this situation with us, I think she would handle a possible next pregnancy very differently than she has in the past. Just like I would, if I ever have more kids, would handle it differently. The pregnancy. I think Tiff and Tony, if they had decided one more, they would handle it differently too, although they weren't like super in the experience with us. They're still in our friend group and we're close knit, and I think they've also seen a lot where they would handle it differently too. But like you said, that's probably coming from a place of trauma. So no, I understand why we don't actually do that, why we don't have those conversations, why doctors don't bring it up. But
doesn't change it that you feel sometimes like maybe they should.
I like you said, place of trauma. having been through it, not that it was a totally like chaotic time making plans. The hospital and the funeral home and everyone who helped made that a pretty smooth process, I would say. But having thought that that was a possibility of happening, I probably would have had made some kind of plan beforehand. I don't know. Thinking back on it now.
You wouldn't have made any other plans. You would have been like, oh man, that's not going to happen to me.
Right?
Come on.
But
Be
then
so
again,
for
I
real.
did feel for a few months that something wrong was going to happen, right? So, I don't know. Thinking back on it now, I think...
But it could also be said that you felt something wrong was going to happen. So why didn't you start making plans when you thought that something was going to happen?
Because at that point I thought it was going to be me. And then at that point, fuck, do what you want. Like, I'm not here anyway. Who cares? I was more concerned about leaving 2 kids without a mom, not what you were going to do with my body when I was dead. So
I was going to hug it.
Yeah, okay. You were going to be at my casket talking shit about everyone that's at my funeral.
Yes.
Yeah, facts.
Literally. This person's here. Do you remember when they did this and they crossed you and you told me that you hated them? Well, why are they here if you don't like them, Kasandra?
Literally. It's like the TikToks that you see. What was I saying?
He told you he wished you were barren.
And
now
here.
he's here. And I have to look at his coke nose. Sorry.
That should be a clip. What I was going to say was, looking back on everything now, I think the one thing I would have done different is maybe stay in the hospital longer with Tober.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I did say, like, I didn't have to leave at the 24-hour mark. I didn't have to give him back. It's not like he was necessarily starting to, like, decompose or that he was starting to smell or anything.
No.
I could have spent more time. I think, though, in the moment, I thought that spending more time would have made it even harder to leave. Like we were saying earlier, who knows what we would have done differently given the chance to go back, right? Like, that's just how I was feeling and thinking in the moment. I'm looking back now, like, a year and a half later. So
I get it. I wish I wouldn't have been so afraid to hold him more.
yeah. But I'm also glad that I gave the chance to everyone to hold him. So, I don't know. There's not actually a lot that I regret after. Because anytime someone suggested something, I immediately said yes. Because I already knew, like, if I say no, I'm going to end up regretting something. And that's going to be an even shittier feeling to have on top of everything else. So, I mean...
It's the same reason that you skipped your therapy session of the what ifs.
It's just not good. I don't think it's good for anyone.
It's not healthy.
No.
Living in the land of what?
I don't even know if that session would have been thinking about the specific what ifs that you feel all the time and dwelling on them, or it would have been more focused around how you shouldn't feel that way because it's not healthy. I also didn't want to go and find out. So here we are. Also no regrets. So I think maybe from the very beginning I handled it pretty good, I guess. I don't know.
I think you handled it as well as you could.
Yeah.
All things considered.
I think, I don't know. Like I said, the hospital, the funeral home, everyone that I had around me made it as smooth as possible. And in that regard, yeah, things were pretty smooth. So.
Yeah.
I guess all that to say. I'm glad that that last post was a man. We don't see a lot of that. And I'm also glad that he brought up stuff like funerals and burials and stuff, because that is not something talked about often. So.
We often look at the death part of it, but we don't look at the
after
first year.
Effects, the first year, the what's next. Yeah.
Sometimes I sit here wondering, though, after we read these stories, like, some of these were posted months or years ago.
One of these was 9 months. One of these was like 3 years. So
it makes me wonder, where are you now 3 years later?
Oh, yeah. See, I often, in the groups I'm in on social media, try not to read too many of them. Because, yeah, I find myself so often thinking back on specific people, certain people, whatever, people that stood out to me. And I just can't do that.
No, it's not healthy.
No. But.
Anyways. I think,
I feel like that was a lot to unpack again.
It's always a lot to unpack.
Yeah, well, we think it's going to be easy and simple, this one. And then we get into deep stuff. And then we always say at the end, in a later episode, we're going to dive deeper into that.
And we will, I promise.
We will. We have lots of topics planned. We are literally, like, scheduled until the end of October.
We've scheduled until what would have been Tober's 2nd birthday.
Exactly. So we have a lot coming for you guys. We will dive deeper into certain topics. Lots of tea to come. We're very much a mix of speaking about loss and grief and the different types of loss and grief, but also dropping the tea when it's hot.
Oh my God.
We have to keep you guys on your toes.
There is an episode coming.
2.
We're going to name him Chuck.
Chuck. Because that's what we should have done from the beginning.
Was chuck his ass out the door.
Yeah. But here we are.
But let me tell you that once you see the episode about Chuck, it is...
It's a wild one. And like I said earlier, I come with receipts. So...
Will we post the receipts?
Probably not, but I'll definitely read some.
Ooh. As Vienna would do. But I mean, we could totally bleep out his name and all of that stuff and just post some.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
You wanted to send them. So now you can live with seeing them online for the rest of your life.
We'll see how heavy it goes. But I have a whole album, so it's coming, guys.
Anyways, on that note, we're going to leave you here.
Yes.
And see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Bye.